Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. If you're looking to move to Canada, then Quebec is a province which is high in demand from the perspective of future Canadians who want to immigrate to Canada, because Quebec is an awesome province and they are kind of sovereign when it comes to Canadian immigration. Just to give you a little background, Quebec runs its own immigration program, which is not under IRCC, but obviously it is under CIC, that is Citizenships and Immigrations Canada. So the programs related to IRCC, that are express entry, there are PNP programs or other pilot programs, they are not applicable to the province of Quebec. And if the province of Quebec nominates you, then IRCC is almost bound to accept the nomination, because Quebec runs their own checks and they are not reliant on IRCC to run those checks, like the background checks, the criminality checks. Quebec has its own infrastructure, and unlike other PNP programs, Quebec has its own program that is not a PNP program, that is not an express entry program, but it is called the Quebec Skilled Worker Program. And in this video, I'm going to share the complete details of the Quebec Skilled Worker Program so that you get the information about it. So the foreign workers who want to apply to Quebec Skilled Worker Program and settle there permanently, work there, have their lives over there, this video is going to teach you all about it. Okay, if I take you to the official website of Quebec, this is the regular skilled worker program, that is RSWP. Now this is a program which does not need a job offer. Okay, and the requirements for this program are quite minimalistic if you fit their criteria. So the job offer or an LMIA is not a requirement, or having a relative inside the province of Quebec is not a requirement, unlike many other PNP programs, but they have their own criteria, selection criteria. So watch this video till the end so that you understand the process. Now their website says the regular skilled worker program is for you if you wish to immigrate to Quebec permanently to work. For this program, you must declare your interest in immigrating to Quebec to work. Okay, so if your profile matches the criteria needed in Quebec, you will receive an invitation to submit an application for permanent selection, and they are going to assess your profile based on these factors, that is language proficiency, your age, your education, the characteristics of your spouse, the presence of children. So these factors are assessed using a selection grid, which can be downloaded from here. I'll try to leave the link in the description, but if I don't, you can obviously search RSWP program Quebec. Okay, so this is the selection grid. Now it is in French language. I was not able to find the English version because their current website does not have one in English. Okay, so let's talk about the points. So if you first one is about your education. If you have a master's degree, then you will be getting 12 points, as you can see right here. Okay, and if you have a PhD, the maximum points allotted would be 14. And if you have a certificate of training, then these points could be added, but for that you would need to be either have studied from Quebec and received your training from there. So we're not going to consider that. Instead, we are considering a master's degree, that is 12 points. Okay, so keep in mind that out of 99 points, if you're a single applicant, you need to score at least 43 points. Okay, so let's calculate these 43 points and your experience. If you have more than 48 months of experience, then your points will be 8. So add them to 12, it will be 20. Okay, and âge, as they say in French, if your age is between 18 to 35, then you get the maximum points, that are 16 points, and that totals the 36 points on this Quebec points grid. Okay, and after that, the language. Obviously, Quebec is a province which gives a lot of value to the French language. And if you do not have any other connection to the province, then learning a certain level of French would be required of you to become eligible for this program. But if you have some other factors like having a relative, having studied from there, then learning French is not a requirement. It is not mandatory. But if you only learn English and you could score maximum of 6 points if you only know English, and that will make your points to 43. But to become eligible, 43 points are needed, and this is something that people miss out when they talk about Quebec program on all the YouTube videos or on the blogs out there. So that is why people are confused and they think that they may be eligible for Quebec, but they might not be eligible unless they know a little bit of French or they have these connections on their side. So let's talk about the French language. And if we talk about this one, then obviously they are preferring listening and speaking more than reading and writing. So if you have the B2 level of French, then your points will be 1 for reading, 1 for writing, and 5 for listening and 5 for speaking. Okay, but let's talk about if you do not know French at all, then what happens is you need to have one of these characteristics with you. One of these is that if you have previously stayed in Quebec, then you will be allotted points, or if you have family Quebec, then obviously you are going to get some points. For example, if you stayed in Quebec for 2 semaines, 2 weeks, then you will be getting the required 1 point that was required of you to be eligible. So a stay, not really working, but a stay for 2 weeks would make you eligible for this program even if you don't know French. And if you will know French, then obviously there are chances that you are going to get yourself selected. So the maximum points allotted for stay in Quebec is whether if you have studied or if you have worked, then you will be given 5 points. And if you stayed for 3 months, then 2 points. If you stayed for 2 weeks, then 1 point will be added. So this is about the stay in Quebec, and if you have that, or if you have family in Quebec, then you will have 3 points, and the maximum number from this criteria is 8. Okay, so if you have studied from there and you have family over there, then you will be getting 8 points from here. And lastly, obviously they have these points for your job offer. So if you have a job offer, offer the employee validity, if you have these job offers, then you will be getting up to 14 points. But we're not talking about job offer because it's not mandatory. Now, most of these things written here that you need to stay in Quebec, you need to have studied from Quebec, you need to learn French. These points give you additional points, but they're not the mandatory requirements. Even if you know only English, you can still apply to the Quebec Skilled Worker Program, or what they call the Regular Skilled Worker Program, RSWP. So once you have determined that you are eligible for this program, then there is a portal called the Arrima portal. And creating an expression of interest on the Arrima portal is free of cost. You can always create that expression of interest. There are no problems with that. And once you are selected, you would need to pay a fee of $13.25. Okay, and the application process is like same as other programs. Firstly, you apply to the government of Quebec for a selection certificate, that is otherwise known as PNP nomination for other PNP programs. And if the province of Quebec chooses you and gives you Quebec selection certificate, then you apply to IRCC for permanent residence. So these were the processes, and the processing time is 15 to 17 months. Okay, this is an excellent program for the people who have some sort of connection within the province of Quebec, or for the people who know French starting from the B2 level. Okay, so if you know French, B2 Quebec is your go-to option. If you have any kind of connections in the province of Quebec, then Quebec is your go-to option, and job offer etc. are not required for applying to Quebec Skilled Worker Program. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and if you guys like this video, then please share it with the people you know who could be getting a benefit out of this video. This is Alif Takhar, wishing you guys all the best.